Hi, you guys. I'm just adjusting the camera. Oh, how are you? Come on in. Come on in. Okay. What's the setup today? So funny. Okay. If you're here, come say hi. I'm getting everything all ready. Okay. Yay. Happy December. Okay, if you're here, come say hi in the chat box, just at least so that I know that it's working and all the tech is working. We can get a recording of this for everybody to watch later. So come let me know if you can see. And here, I have to get my book stacks right here, propping it up so you can see. Cool. Happy December, everybody. So today for class, I thought it would be fun. Obviously, you probably all know this is coming, to do a few quick, amazing, but also still healthy holiday ideas. So we're going to do one is a snacking mix. So like a twist, an upgraded version of Chex Muddy Buddies. I know for a lot of people, this is like an annual favorite that they love, but when you look at what's actually in them, it's like just pure sugar and a lot of extra stuff that we don't really need. But I think there's a great way to upgrade it. And I have a lot of ideas of like different combinations that you could do. So we're going to do that because it's a fun little festive snack mix to have. As you know, there is a version of like a more savory snack mix that's in the first cookbook, also in your cooking club. But if you want to follow along, I think this one in the cooking club is titled Gluten-Free Upgraded Muddy Buddy Snack Mix. So any of those words, you should be able to pull it up if you want to. And then today we're also going to do these amazing chocolate almond cookies. So an upgraded version of a Christmas cookie. In your portals, you will see, if you search even for the word holiday, it will pull up like all kinds of, all the Christmas stuff that I've done in the past, the little holiday recipes. All of them are upgraded versions of classics that we love, but maybe done in a way where it's eating it is not going to like spike your blood sugar like crazy. And that is the deal with most holiday cookies and desserts and the things that are around, is that there's nothing really to ground them, right? With our blood sugar, there's not a lot of protein or healthy fat or fiber, things that kind of like help keep us stable and steady. So when you think about doing more upgraded desserts, it's not that you have to change the entire thing, but that sometimes it's either a matter of swapping different ingredients to make them real food based. By the way, butter is a real food. I will say that butter is a great healthy fat. So a lot of these things we don't have to change drastically. It's just some of the others. Maybe we're upgrading the sugar so that it's not a refined sugar. Maybe it's more like a maple syrup or a coconut sugar. And when I do those things, it's just so that, again, the spike in your blood sugar isn't as crazy. We want to keep it more mellow, more close to even. That is going to dictate how you feel. And of course, your energy, your mood, which dictates how you sleep and everything about it. So I am a big fan, as you know, of not being all or nothing, meaning that you're not going to go through this season and not have like, desserts and treats and things that you love. I just think there's a way to do all of those things more mindfully and more intentionally. And it's about the ingredients that you're using. And I think there's a way to make most things that you would want to have, but make them in this way that is going to not bring you down 5 levels, but help either keep you stable and steady, or even better would be lifting you up, right? Nourishing you and filling you with all kinds of different nutrients and all of the things that our bodies do need. So sometimes it's a matter of like not getting below that line, not putting stuff in that's really going to take you down, but staying steady and equal. So just as a caveat before we get into things, that is always my perspective on things. I think this is a beautiful time of year to be cooking and baking and sharing stuff, but also do it in a way that's intentional, where you're not just eating randomly. You're not just eating things because they're out, or because other people made them, or because they're out on the counter, or because it's a tradition and you always do it. But when you think about it, you don't actually care about that food. So I would really encourage you to think about that. Like, is this something that brings you joy? Is it something that lights you up? Is it something that is bringing something to your life? if you're just doing it out of habit or because it's a tradition or because it's something that you always do or because other people are, that's going to not make you feel so good, whether that's in the hour that follows it or it's the next day when you wake up and you're kind of like, why am if you do that over time, especially over the course of a month or the course of the holidays, let's say, that's what kind of gets a tricky, dangerous spot to try to come all the way back from, right? Versus every day being a little bit more intentional about, is this something I love? Is this something I enjoy? Is this something I care about? Is there a way that I could have this experience and make it full of more nourishing foods for me so it doesn't, take me down? So that is what it's about today. Okay, can we all see in here? Yes, yes. Okay, I'm seeing yes, yes. Great, great. Can hear. Love it. Thank you for that reminder. You're welcome. You're welcome. I think sometimes we all need that reminder too. Okay, let's get started. We are going to jump right in and do the chocolate almond cookies first. So this ingredient, if you'd like to pull it up in your cooking club and follow along, they're called gluten-free chocolate almond cookies. They have a mix of a bunch of different gluten-free flours, but none of which are overly obscure. But the mix of the different flours actually brings like a really great texture to it. So that's why we do that. Also, the mix of the different flours is actually giving you some nutrients too. So you're getting a lot of like the fiber in the oats versus just using something that's just a plain gluten-free mix. What am I doing? I'm not even measuring. Just getting too into things, I forgot to grab I was baking all day yesterday to give you guys brand new stuff all for the month of December, like these fun upgraded ideas. So all of my, they're there. Okay, all of my measuring cups are like in the dishwasher still. Okay, so the chocolate almond cookies, I'll read you the recipe. You can follow along. Make sure you have these things. Oat flour. If you don't have oat flour, I'm going to show you how you make your own with just oats and a blender. Rice flour. So more often probably it's going to be brown rice flour, but white rice flour would be totally fine. Almond flour. So you're going to get some good protein and some healthy fats with the almonds. And fiber as well. Tapioca flour, which is something that I have. It's actually a great gluten-free binder. Tapioca is a root vegetable, so it actually has great prebiotic fiber to help the probiotics in your gut be nourished and fed. Prebiotics help feed the good bacteria. So tapioca flour is actually a great thing to have on hand. It's not very obscure or random. This one's from Thrive Market. You can find it in most grocery stores. This is also an ingredient you would use in a gluten-free sourdough bread. We're going to do golden coconut sugar or regular coconut sugar. This is an upgraded version of a sweetener, right? That's not going to spike your blood sugar, but it's also not a manufactured sweetener, right? There's nothing weird about it. It's just coconut sugar from an actual coconut. The glycemic index is lower. It's not as sweet, but gives it just enough sweetness to balance out the bitterness of natural cocoa powder, which is what we're going to use to get that chocolatey, delicious taste. Then we're going to do, it has some maple syrup in it as well. Again, a natural sweetener that is naturally occurring, not refined, not going to spike your blood sugar as much. Some baking powder, 2 eggs, and then olive oil. Or if you don't have olive oil, who doesn't have olive oil? But if you don't, or you have a huge thing of coconut oil that you're trying to work through, if you got it from Costco, you can also use coconut oil. You just want to make sure it's melted. Okay, so first ingredient is half a cup of oat flour, which again you can buy, or if you have oats, you can also just quickly make your own, which is what I'm going to do. So half a cup, I measure it first, pour it in the blender. I'm just going to blitz it so that it turns into a flour, which is a great, easy way. You can do this with a lot of different things. BRB. See how easy that is? Literally just, that's oat flour now. Little side hack. Okay. So we're going to get that in here. spatula. Sometimes a little gets stuck at the bottom. So I'm just going to pour it here. So this mix, again, is something that you can do as small little cookies, right, to keep it really easy on yourself if time is of the essence, or if you're wanting to do more like a cookie cutout. I have a great recipe in the cooking club for healthier sugar cookies that you can also do. So this is more like the chocolate version of that. This dough, once you make it, can be rolled out and used with cookie cutters. However, I will say you need to definitely put the batter in the fridge for 30 minutes before doing so. So for today's purposes, I'm just going to show you the small little cookies, but know that you definitely can, and I'll walk you through what that looks like so you can do it at home. But it does require, again, that like sitting time in the fridge. So for today, I'm going to get it a little cold. We're going to do the cheap version, which is to put it in the freezer for 5 minutes. And make sure you don't forget about it. You will have to help me not forget about it. And then, let's see. Then we can take it out. So it's one of those things, it just needs to combine with a little coldness. Helps, everything kind of stick together and make it actually not too sticky that you can't roll it out. Okay, next is a 1/3 cup of rice flour. I am finishing my bag. Look at my giant bag from Amazon. This is also an ingredient in sourdough, gluten-free sourdough, thus the giant bag. There's like still a few crumbs left in there. Okay, we're gonna do 2 cups of almond flour. And again, you can also feel free to mix. Like I see that I have probably, I don't know, a cup left in here. Another flour that's fun to play with, but it does need to be mixed with other flours, is buckwheat flour. Okay, so we've got 1 here. Let me grab my other bag. Almond flour. But again, it's just what you can do. And if nuts are something that you can't do, you can also try garbanzo bean flour in place here. It would probably work out well. Again, if you have a mix of other flours, it tends to do a little better when it's mixed with other things. Okay, now we're going to do 1/4 cup of tapioca flour, like this. We can get the bag open. Right here. Okay. Whoa, a little extra. Okay, there we go. Tapioca. Okay, now we are ready for our coconut sugar. So this is also a 1/3 cup. It's the same amount as the tapioca flour. And yeah, you can find tapioca flour in most grocery stores now. It's a very common ingredient, especially in gluten-free baking. And a lot of paleo baking, and let's see. So it's a great one to have on hand. It's also good for breading things if you're going to bread chicken or eggplant or something like that. So I'm doing all of the dry ingredients first. It's kind of like a classic cookie baking thing that you will always see written. I actually don't think it matters too much. We're doing 1 teaspoon of baking powder. But sometimes it just makes it easier because then you can put away, wipe down the counters as you get mixing stuff, opening different bags. Yeah. Okay, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So all we're missing now is the wet stuff. So 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, 2 eggs, and then 1/4 cup of almond flour. So before we get to that, I'm just going to start mixing to combine. So the reason why a lot of recipes will say that is that once the wet ingredients do touch the dry ingredients, it kind of mixes right there. So if your dry ingredients haven't completely mixed together, things like the baking powder might be not evenly distributed, which could affect, the baking, the rising of cookies, them looking different than the other. I think they usually taste about the same. So it just matters your preference on things. But for the sake of making an actual Christmas cookie, we're going to do things the way that it's suggested. Okay, so now we've got our dry. Now we just need our 2 eggs. And again, no matter if you're going to do these as cut out cookies or just as smaller cookies, little snacking cookies, if you will. I actually had some of these, like, this is the type of cookie that you don't have to feel bad about. I had it like midday yesterday as I was playing with this recipe. I'm like, yeah, this is great. It has great protein, has great fiber, tastes like chocolate. What's not to love here? This is like all the best things in one. The olive oil. We're going to do a 1/4 cup of olive oil here. I just realized we forgot our cocoa powder. Let's not forget that. It's going to be 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. So cocoa powder is actually very much a superfood. It's not sweet. So this is not like a hot chocolate mix, but actual cocoa powder, which I'll show you here in a minute. Get that in. And it's a great way to bring chocolate flavor without like the added sugar of a chocolate bar or chocolate chips. You can also increase this amount of chocolate if you want. I would say this is kind of more on the minimal side. You could probably even actually double it if you wanted it to be super chocolatey. You may just want to add in a little extra maple syrup if you do that. Sometimes the balance of the bitter needs a little bit of the sweet to balance it out. Okay, and then our 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. So this overall really has like relatively low amounts of sugar, only a 1/3 cup of the coconut sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of maple. And when you look at how many this batch makes, if you're doing the mini cookies, makes a lot of mini cookies, like, I don't know, 35 to 40 mini cookies. So the amount per cookie is actually like very low. So it's a great way to kind of like have that fun little special experience of eating a cookie, the treat aspect, even though I hate that word of treats and good food and bad food, but like just dessert. You're having the experience of dessert or like a midday little snack, or you're taking a break or whatever it is, that it's not something that's going to, again, take you off your game, because we cannot afford to do that. I don't know about you. I cannot afford to do that in my life right now. Like there's no time to feel anything less than great, full of energy, like full of positivity. Here we go. I don't have room for anything else really. So personal preference, that's why. Okay. So I'm thinking here that this is looking a little dry, but we're going to keep mixing. You could, of course, use a mixer for this if you'd like. I like to do it by hand, little workout. No, because I actually like to see it combine and make sure it is kind of like evenly incorporated here. So some fun additions, let's talk about that, because this is a great basic cookie dough. You could add chocolate chips to this. You could add chopped nuts. I would think like chopped hazelnuts would be really fun, and chopped walnuts. Some chopped roasted peanuts would also be great if you want a little crunch in there. You could do cocoa nibs. Again, that would make it a little more bitter, but crunchy, chocolatey, really delicious. You could do, I'm going to stick this in you do want to cover it if you're going to do the 30 minutes in the fridge. Otherwise, it will get a little crusty. I'm going to just stick this in the freezer while we make our other dish. Okay, so freezer for about 10 minutes. So other additions I have seen, I was thinking the other day, like as I made these as Christmas cookies, I'm going to show you. This is the batch from yesterday. So I did little candy cane. So you could actually dip these cookies once you do have them cut out, maybe dip them in chocolate, right? You could sprinkle like a little crushed candy cane if you're into that. You could also just do dipped chocolate. You could do shredded coconut on top. I know people like to like decorate and have icings for that. I actually prefer them plain personally, but doing like a half dipped chocolate with crushed nuts or coconut would also be kind of a fun little idea. Okay, that's going in the freezer for 5 minutes. Again, if you're going to do the cookie cut version, I would put it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes covered. And then when you take it out, you would put it in between like a parchment paper on the bottom, the dough in the middle, a parchment paper on top, and then you would roll the dough out, right? And you're looking for probably like a 1/3 of an inch thickness for that dough. You do your cookie cutters. Again, you're going to want to make sure the dough is cold. If it's not cold, it is sticky. So it wouldn't work great for cookie cutters. It has to be cold. Then put your cookie cutters right onto the baking sheet. These actually cook at a much lower heat. So the oven is on at 300 degrees right now, and then they take about 10 minutes once they're in the oven. Obviously, that depends on how big cookie cutters versus small, but it's about 10 minutes, so you can kind of watch from there. Another idea would be to roll take them out, and I'll show you this later. You could roll them in powdered sugar. You could roll them in like a crunchy turbinado sugar if you want to. You could, top with cocoa nibs. It's kind of a really fun recipe because it is so versatile in that way. Okay, any questions on that? Yeah, someone was asking about swaps for the almond meal. So try garbanzo bean flour. There's another bean flour I'm thinking of that is great swap for almond. You could do some coconut flour in there too, although coconut flour is really dry and needs a little more moisture. So you may need to add a little bit more olive oil if that's the case, if you use coconut flour instead, if you're looking for a nut-free version. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the rice checks, the Muddy Buddies. So in normal Muddy Buddies, let me just read you this. Also, rice checks are not like what I would say for sure a real food, but they also are very simple. Whole grain rice, sugar, salt, molasses, vitamin E. Then they have like the added, minerals and vitamins, which is not a great sign. That means that they usually took them away to begin with. But for purposes of a dessert, a snack, I have started giving these to my kids. They think they're so special and like fun, a little crunch. Overall, it's not too bad of a thing, to have as far as the spectrum goes, especially with cereal. So this giant box is so funny. Okay, regular Muddy Buddies have the checks. They have chocolate chips, peanut butter, margarine, vanilla, and powdered sugar. So a lot of sweetness, just a lot of extra stuff, not a lot to ground it other than the peanut butter. So with this, where's my hat? We'll just do like a small example. There's lots of different ways. So this is more of like a chocolate-y mix. So we're going to do about 2 cups. You can also use corn checks. You can also do this with any other cereal. Like I was thinking this would also be really good with like those, the garbanzo bean. I think it's 1 Degree is the brand where they have the garbanzo bean Cheerios. That's usually what I give my kids, especially like traveling. So I think that would be a great way to go as well. I was thinking through Rice Krispies are probably a little bit too small. Okay, next step is we're going to add sort of the wetter ingredients. So the vanilla, the maple syrup, and the peanut butter. Let me tell you these ingredients. So peanut butter, you could use almond butter, you could use sunflower butter to keep it nut-free if you'd like. Olive oil here, again with our cocoa powder. Where did I put it? Again with the cocoa powder, right here. Vanilla, maple syrup, and then peanut butter. I swear I took them all out. There it is. Here's the peanut butter. And then today I'm also going to add in some flaxseed meal because this is actually, it's like crunchy, a little salty, a little sweet. And so it's a great recipe to maybe add a few other things. So today I'm going to add some flaxseed meal, again, more extra fiber, grounding for your blood sugar, always really helpful. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Olive oil, also 1 tablespoon. Here we go. And then 2 tablespoons of peanut butter or whatever nut butter you are going to use. So I'm going to stir this. This is like a new jar here. And we are going to, we'll do some of the mix-ins and the cocoa powder after so that it gets that kind of powdery feel that you get from the powdered sugar, but without the powdered sugar. Okay, so 2 tablespoons. And all I'm going to do here is put this over low heat and whisk it a little bit so that the peanut butter melts and all of these things can kind of combine together like this. Okay, any questions on this? Yeah, you could use different types of cereal. You could do, you could actually, I was thinking this would be really good with like tahini too, like make it a little bit more savory. So I'm just going to whisk it with a fork as we go. Oh, I forgot a little bit of sea salt too, just like the tiniest pinch. Like this. And it won't take very long. I'm just going to whisk it together. So let's talk about some fun additions you could put in here. You could do some peanuts again, or other sorts of chopped nuts. You could add in coconut chips. You could do like some gluten-free pretzels. You could do it mixed with like some popcorn too, to kind of make it more of like a snack mix. Like there's other things in there as well. Let's see, we're gonna get our, no. Where's my flaxseed meal? I have so many things out right now. Listen, here it is. They're like all the same color. We'll do a little flaxseed meal in here, like this. Do you think we should do some, what else? I was thinking chia seeds would be good in here. But you can really make it, right, whatever you want. So this recipe you can do completely without the cocoa powder if you don't want it to be chocolate flavored. That works totally fine. Okay, you got to stay on top of this over here. I'm like, if it gets too hot too quickly, it kind of like gels together. So we just want it like liquid enough that we can pour it here. Right, like this. So again, a fun one to kind of customize whatever way you like to do things. Whatever like additions sound fun. Again, I'm just thinking of ones that would be like not terrible to be eating. We don't have margarine in here. We got some flaxseed meal. I do want to try actually some chia seeds in this batch. Okay, so we're just going to mix it. And again, go gentle so that you're not going to break these as much as possible. Okay, and now we are ready for our cocoa powder. So I'm going to start with like just about a teaspoon. Again, you can add more if you'd like. If you really like chocolate, dark chocolate, I do. Mix that together. You could, of course, do powdered sugar and just upgrade the other ingredients. Let's see. So with mine, I had the heat on a little bit too high in the pan over there. So it kind of like made it congeal together versus it being melted and turning a little bit more liquidy. So if that happens, you can always add a little bit more olive oil if you'd like. We're just going to mix it together like this. And it's just like so good. You could do like a snickerdoodle version of this as well, where you do like cinnamon in here, or you could do cinnamon chocolate. And again, adding those similar like little add-ins would be also fun too. Okay, so it's done. Woo! What am I doing? Cooking in a white sweater. It's so, so good. So to store this is probably maybe the most important part because it has, you know, now like liquid on it or things that are more wet, it will get kind of soft and mushy. So I would recommend storing it in an airtight container for sure. And then probably putting it in the fridge. And that will help you help it keep for much longer. And then you should be good to go. So again, just a fun little idea, upgraded version of this. And as the liquid ingredients kind of solidify, it will be much more like a dry mix, right? That people can kind of crunch and munch on. So those are the two fun recipes. Again, I'm going to, you know that I add a new recipe in the cooking club every week. And so I have more fun ones coming for December, as well as I'm already starting to plan through January, especially for those of you who are going to continue on with us. I love that. Definitely having at least one new recipe a week for you in there. We've done a pretty big survey. So if you haven't gotten a chance to respond to that yet, we would love to know your feedback. Again, like things like this, like figuring out what's a more fun bonus, like having these monthly cooking classes, or is it helpful just to see little mini cooking clips of tips and ideas? That's how we came up with the plan to do the free meal plan, if you're listening to this now, for yearly members. So that includes a yearly member. If you are continuing on with us next year, you get a free seasonal meal plan. So 4 weeks of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all planned out for you, with a matching shopping list and everything else that you need for those busy weeks, right? So if you haven't responded to the survey, it really helps so much in terms of what recipes you want me to make, what things you need, what things you want more of. It helps so much. So I'd be so thankful if you could give that a little tiny peek, 5 minutes of your day would be great. And then I'm also planning out so many good recipes for the winter, which sometimes is hard to find ones that are healthy and quick and kind of cozy and comforting, but then again, are not going to take you down a notch, that are actually going to help elevate you and bring you up and help you be energized. So much of how we feel is based off of the food we are putting in our bodies. And not a lot of people realize that deep connection. It's truly over 85% of it is what you are feeding your body with. The other part of it is what you're feeding your mind with, right? And how you're processing through your emotions with your nervous system. So much of it, again, comes down to food and thinking about your food as this blessing to your body, right? Something that's going to give it something, not something that's taking away the energy that you have. We want more energy, more vibrancy, more feeling good, more feeling positive, more feeling like you can handle anything that gets thrown your way. And so that is really what this cooking club is all about. So because this is the last video that we have planned, again, from that survey, we got feedback that was can you do shorter, quicker things to go in the video vault? Just little tips and tricks would be more helpful. So we're going to do that in January. We're adding in the meal plan for everybody who is going to do the yearly membership again. And we are also, I almost forgot, we are also, based on your feedback, creating a community around this cooking club. So we're going to launch a community Facebook group that you can ask any questions you have on the recipes, give any feedback, tell us what you're loving, tell us what you want more of. And that's a great place where I'll be able to pop in and show you things as I'm making and creating these recipes of here's a little tip, here's something fun, here's an idea to try. So all of that is going to be coming in January. So I'm so thankful that you are here and just trusting me with your food and helping you feel the best you can possibly feel this month, next month, into the winter season. It's so, so important, and it's all always connected. I love you so much. I hope this was helpful. Let us know if you have any questions at all. We are here to help. And I would love to know what else would be the most helpful for you and what you're enjoying and loving. And if there's anything that would be even better, I always want to know. Okay. I love you guys so much. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, all of it. I hope you just take care of yourselves and the people you love in deep ways and also in small, tiny daily ways too. Okay. I love you.